UFC Personal Trainer for Xbox 360 Kinect is a extremely mixed bag workout game that really feels like an awkward forced use of the UFC license. Now, this game is a little hard to review because one of its fatal flaws is due to the Kinect itself, but I'll get more into that later. But for my review itself, I think I must start at the beginning, where the game gives you a fitness test. The fitness test itself was nothing special, but you unlock an achievement for completing it. Or at least you're supposed to. The game glitched very early on, and I was not given the achievement for completing this task, which kinda ticked me off. So, needless to say, I got off to a bad start with UFC Personal Trainer. From here, things really continued on rocky ground for a bit. So, this title doesn't have any sort of a campaign or progression system. You just have pre-made workouts, quick workouts, custom workouts, and activities or mini-games if you prefer. But are the workouts themselves any good? Not really, if I'm being honest. While I didn't try every single workout in this game, most of the ones I did try went as follows: 5 minutes of stretching and warm-ups, 4 to 5 minutes of mat exercises, then 5 minutes of stretching and cool down. What? The workouts are more out than work, as you spend 2/3 of the game just relaxing, doing very light cardio, and standing and resting in between exercises, more than you do actually exercising. That just sucks. And for the little bit of time you actually spend working out, the exercises were either just really light third grader stuff, or some really weird jank exercises that somebody pulled out of a book they found on Temu about how to get in shape. Plus, they only really read when they wanted to, and the motion controls were sometimes just hopelessly bad. Now, sometimes this was entirely the fault of the Kinect itself and not the game, as UFC Personal Trainer does ask you to do several exercises and stretches on the floor, maybe something like push-ups. But when you hit the deck to do said floor exercises, you go out of view of the Kinect, which has a default resting place of looking up really high. For those who don't know, you cannot manually adjust a Kinect, which would have fixed this problem, as I could have just lowered its view down, but nope, it is locked in place, nice and tight. And what happens when you go out of view in this game? The Kinect signs you out. So you have to stop what you're doing, grab your controller, and manually sign back in, which is just a fiasco and a half. Now, I initially started the game doing the men's workouts, but they were constantly asking me to do floor exercises, which just made this game unplayable. So, out of curiosity, I swapped over to female exercises, which has less floor exercises, but all the instructors are still male for some reason. I just found that kind of odd, especially since you get a female instructor and motivational cutscenes, and there are some female voiceovers. Oh well, whatever, but yeah, the workouts in this game are a joke, and the only saving grace for UFC PT is the minigame activities. There are 4 of these in total: hit the mitts, tire flip, free striking, and speed bag. And unlike the quote workouts, you can actually get in some solid cardio exercises here, and they generally read your motions really well. Starting things off with hit the mitts, this is a multi-course lesson of basic martial arts, and you're given prompts to do things like kick and punch, and I don't really have any complaints here. The controls still aren't perfect, but it had a 90 to 100% chance of properly reading your moves, so A+ for hit the mitts, and you receive grades based off how accurate you are, and a couple achievements are linked to this minigame. Now for the tire flip. Ooh, That one will work your legs. You can set this activity to last 1, 3, or 5 minutes, and the 5-minute one is brutal for out of shape me. It's more or less doing a bunch of squats, holding each one for a couple seconds, and then throwing your arms up like you were flipping a tractor tire, which is something I could actually do as a teenager. Man, I miss those days back when my body refused to gain weight. Anyways, the next activity to discuss was free striking, which was just hitting or kicking a digital punching bag however you wanted, which is surprisingly fun and it generally did read very well. Also, you have several cool bags to choose from, many of which are Xbox themed, and they're actually pretty cool to look at. And again, this activity can be set to last 1, 3, or 5 minutes. And finally, there was the speed bag, which is basically you hitting a tiny punching bag. And once again, this one can be set to last 5, 3, or 1 minute, depending on what you want. And I would say that does largely wrap up the gameplay of this title. Graphically, UFC looks okay, I guess, and the music was alright. Performance-wise, not counting iffy motion controls, this game did often freeze for a few seconds and have input lag. And no, this is not because of my disc, as it is in near flawless condition. In conclusion, with all things said, UFC Personal Trainer is a joke of a workout game, and I give it a 6 out of 10 by my grade scale. You're better off just buying a workout DVD. I mean, for a workout game, it is just so light, and I've played several non-workout Kinect games that are more exercise than this, such as Kinect Star Wars, Rise of Nightmares, and Fighters Uncaged. And sure, Fighters Uncaged is a horrible game, but you will get a very solid workout playing it for an hour, versus in UFC, you barely even break a sweat after an hour. Now, a little side note apart from my review, this title does offer 3 avatar awards for whatever that's worth, but I only unlocked one, being some Mag Gloves. As far as a similar game I could recommend, I strongly suggest Your Shape Fitness Evolve 2012, a workout game that is actually fun and good for exercise. And that is my review for today. Thank y'all for watching and for putting up with my bad narrations. And subscribe if you want to see more Kinect workout game trash talk reviews. For newcomers here, I mostly review and discuss Xbox 360 games. And I will have a couple of my other Kinect game reviews in the end cards. For our Bible verse of the day, I read Isaiah 55:6 NIV. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call on him while he is near. And like always, none of my content is made by robots, and I don't consent to my voice and likeness being modified, altered, and copied by robots in any way. Jesus is King. He loves you all. Thanks again for watching. Have a good one. Peace. From here, things really continued on rocky ground. Now, on occasion, this wasn't. Now, sometimes